Razer's new keyboard is basically cheating. I'm already thinking about those controllers, those modded controllers with like rapid fire and stuff. That low key was kind of cheating. Hi everybody, welcome to my community. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell.
This is what game movement looks like on Razer's new keyboard. It achieves perfect strafing inputs. No movement overlap, no delay between direction changes. This movement accuracy is 100% impossible on a normal keyboard. And
Wait, oh my god. It's like, what is it? In Valorant and CSGO, right? People used to always talk about counter strafing and you gotta stop at a certain time and then get like that precision aim, right? Like in between the strafes or whatnot. This keyboard has no delay. Is it a 60%?
in the past, this way of input handling has been determined as cheating. Razer, though, are calling it SnapTap. It's a free update that's available on their Huntsman V3 analog keyboards, and after testing this thing out, it is 100% something that we need to talk about. Normal gaming keyboards look like this. You've got a 2mm actuation point. Beyond that, the key is active, and above that point, the key is reset. That's pretty much it. The main issue here is that there's a lot of delay between what you intend to happen when you press or release a switch and the point when that actually happens. But then, Wooding mostly fixed this. They came out with their adjustable actuation points, making the press delay basically as minimal as you'd want, along with a feature called Rapid Trigger, allowing the switch to instantly reset the moment it starts lifting up.
Dude, that's honestly kind of crazy. That's what we were just saying too about like the modded controllers back then. I forget what else they had. It was like the rapid fires and then like certain, like I think it was the Xbox Elite. They have like the little stoppers so you don't actually have to like hit the triggers as far, you know, it just goes a little bit. This keyboard would work pretty nice in BDO. I want to know the price. Dude, Razer is very overpriced when it comes to their products, in my opinion. Their headsets and stuff like that, I personally don't think it's worth all that much. Cause like I used to have the pink one and then like the keyboard as well. It's the same with some Elgato things too, right? But they're kind of like a monster right now just cause there's really no competitors for Elgato products.
Feels leaps and bounds more intuitive to play on, and since the majority of keyboard input lag is actually the physical travel of the switch, it offers literally multiple frames of lower latency pressing and releasing switches.
Wait, it's only $85 with the keyboard is only $85. That's honestly pretty cheap. I was expecting it to be 100 plus. I mean, 85 is still a good chunk too. I swear like this keyboard is probably 30 bucks or something like that. Shout outs to Perry, by the way.
But there's actually one more thing. On the Wooding, it is still technically possible to overlap your movement keys. If you start pressing one direction before releasing the other, you're technically actuating both keys at the same time, and in most games, this will give you no input. The chance of this happening is way lower than a regular mechanical keyboard, but it is still there, and that is where this new feature from Razer comes in, called Snap.
Look at Mercy healing a healer, for real. What is this, silver? Oh no, bronze, he says. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
And that is where this new feature from Razer comes in, called
Meanwhile, the tank is down there getting no heals or nothing, right?
SnapTap. It only activates your last pressed input, now making it impossible to overlap your movement keys. If you hold down one key and then press the opposite direction without releasing the other, you'll just start moving in that new direction. There is no movement overlap at all, and there's also no delay between the left and right movement. You can be moving in one direction on one frame and then instantly get an input in the opposite direction, literally the next frame. No other keyboard can do this. Now,
that's honestly kind of crazy though for like counter strafing too. Never mind, it's $224 on Amazon. Oh god. Yeah, the new keyboard. That's more like it. I was about to say $84 for a Razer newest keyboard? I don't know. That sounds really cheap.
The most important movement technique to learn is called counter strafing. It's when you release one movement key and then tap the opposite one to stop moving as soon as you possibly can. In this game, you only have full accuracy at 0 movement velocity or very close to it, so the sooner you can stop moving, the sooner you can fire an accurate shot. And this technique takes a lot of practice. It looks easy if you've never tried it before, but consider the precise timing that you need to release and press that new switch every single time in the heat of a game, with no movement overlap and no delay between those inputs. It is legitimately something that you could still be improving after thousands of hours of playing this game. This keyboard though can do it perfectly every single time.
I'm gonna lie though, the keyboard does look clean. I'm a big fan of, is that a 60%? I'm pretty sure it's 60%. Because I think it's the one that I have right now 75, because it's got like arrow, well, the other ones have arrow keys too, but then it has F keys, I think. But the one before this one didn't have F keys, and it was like really small. It was so cute. Would you look at me differently if I told you I use a full keyboard? No, because I feel like most people here use full keyboards. Is it more so like FPS gamers usually have 60 to 75% keyboards, and then I feel like just about everybody else just has normal keyboards, like a full keyboard.
Time with like no effort. All you need to do is be moving in one direction and tap the opposite direction. You get a perfect counter strafe every single time. And I don't mean like perfect as in like kind of.
Oh, it's actually him playing. I thought he was just showing a clip of somebody else playing, but it's actually him.
Perfect. I mean frame by frame. This is as perfect of a counter strafe as the game engine will allow. So here's a bit of a counter strafe simulation between the Razer Huntsman Mini V3 and the Wooting 60. These
Wait, is that, I mean, I assume that's a Razer mouse too. I'm not sure. I've never seen, well, I guess I never really paid attention either, but I've never seen any other mice that have like the holes like that, like Glorious does.
These two solenoids perform a strafe and a counter strafe, so we
that
can
is
see
a
which
final
keyboard
mouse.
will give us the better movement.
Oh, it's a final mouse? It looks pretty nice. Model O? Yeah, I have a Model O.
And to kind of simulate human error, I've added a tiny bit of overlap. Basically, if you were to start pressing one key without lifting the other immediately, which is way more common than you might think, especially under the pressure of a competitive game, even for a pro player. And yeah, we can see a difference. Razer's snap tap gets us back to full weapon accuracy roughly 60 to 70 milliseconds faster. And maybe more importantly here, there are several frames where you'll be at full accuracy on the Razer, but almost full spread on the Wooting. And then in Overwatch, where you don't have counter strafing, but you do have instant changes in direction, it's a very similar result.
I'm already getting flashbacks on Juno, man. The way she wiggles. Final mouse is like Gucci, but really fragile. I mean, don't be throwing your mice around, right?
Not something that's easily noticeable in real time, but keep in mind this is the exact same input happening on both keyboards, but with a different result. I've also only simulated a tiny bit of overlap of just 50 milliseconds. The worse that overlap is, the more dramatic this result will be. But again, the big thing here is how easy this is to do every single time, and you get a perfect input. I can personally count the number of times that I've played CS. It's enough to know that my movement is pretty bad, but this keyboard turned me into a counter-strafing god within about 5 minutes of practice. It was...
I don't know. I don't think it's really cheating. In my opinion, like, I don't think so. This guy needs sleep. He has bags underneath his eye. We all do.
It was so easy to do over and over again. Even under the pressure of a 1v1, this keyboard just did it for me.
Oh, there you go.
He's
going against real players now.
More broken. If you hold down one direction and keep tapping the opposite direction, you can do absolutely perfect jiggle strafing.
Dang.
Again here, no input overlapping or delay. It's brutally easy to do. And if you stay within the right dead zone in Counter-Strike, you still technically have full accuracy. It makes micro-correcting with little strafe inputs absurdly easy. You can do perfect jiggle peaks around corners with like no effort at all. And you're a lot harder to hit compared to just standing still or crouching. It's kind of busted in Overwatch as well. I mean, it's like the most insane strafe spam that I've personally ever seen.
Every Juno moves like that, dude. I kind of want to try that though, because yeah, I can't do that. I can't just press A and then tap D and then go back and forth. Like, it just keeps going to A. So yeah, I don't know. That is kind of crazy.
This kind of strafe with no error or delay is actually impossible on any other keyboard unless you're a robot. The usefulness of this in an actual competitive match though is definitely up for debate, but used in a more normal way where you're actually dodging and mirroring enemy input, it does definitely feel like a more responsive and clean input. Now this snap SnapTap feature, this way of only prioritizing your last pressed input, is actually nothing new. It's been around for a while in both Team Fortress 2 and Counter-Strike with something called null cancelling movement. It's a script which basically does the same thing on pretty much any keyboard, and at least in CS, it wasn't allowed in competition. This new keyboard, though, apparently is allowed at the highest level of ESL tournaments, which
that feature wasn't allowed before, but then this keyboard is allowed and the competitions now? What the heck?
Which is going to be interesting for sure. For most people who are just going to be using this to rank up online though, I don't think that this is like bannable or even detectable because it's doing it at a hardware level. Maybe I'm wrong there, but yeah, I think we're at an interesting point in time with gaming keyboards especially, where game developers and tournament referees need to look at this stuff and actually decide whether it is broken for their particular game. Especially the way that it can be used to AD.
Back on like the third party thing though, there was like some sort of thing that you could like plug your controller into and then plug that into your computer, and basically it reduces like recoil for you. I forget what it was exactly. I forgot what it was.
Spam so quickly and so accurately with no error. Yeah, I don't know, that's just not normal. For those that play Valorant though, there's actually nothing to worry about here because Razer's SnapTap is actually not that useful. Counter-strafing in Valorant is nowhere near as strong as in CS. You do get slightly shorter animations, but yeah, Rapid Trigger has a much greater effect here. At the very least, it is a nice feature that means that you will never be overlapping inputs, but that's pretty much it. Now, Wooting does have a kind of similar feature to this called Rappy Snappy. It's similar in the way that it won't let you overlap inputs, but instead it prioritizes the furthest pressed input, not the last pressed input like Razer. Wooting's version is pretty harmless, at least for FPS games. It's not too beneficial since most people are going to be pressing their movement keys to full depth. Otherwise, this thing is seriously OP, especially for CS. I can see why a few pro players don't want.
Yeah, there we go. It was the Kronos. Thank you, Legendary. That's what we were talking about before.
This thing to be included in competition. Game movement, after all, is a skill. Just like your aim, it takes thousands of hours to get it to a really competitive level. Yeah. With this keyboard though, you're kind of cheat coding your way to a perfect input.
Movement in game is definitely a skill, because you'll see in like Apex, right, the really skilled players are moving like crazy, and even in COD too, they're just moving like nutsos. But games with a lot of verticality where you can climb a lot and stuff, and you go kind of crazy with it. Okay, I hate to say it, but even in Fortnite, you know, there's different items and stuff that you can use for movement. But I'm thinking like wiggling back and forth like that isn't really like skillful.
I mean, the fact that I can pick up this keyboard and have like actually better strafing inputs than some pro players out there, that does make this feel kind of broken.
Still gotta hit your shots though. Another one. Uh-oh, we're getting into the crime stuff again. Don't mind my algorithm, guys. Ignore it. Ignore it. Okay, we don't talk about my crime algorithm.